Support for the show comes from Carolina Forward, a nonpartisan organization dedicated to building a more equitable, democratic, and prosperous North Carolina.
You can learn more about their vision and values at carolinaforward.org.
North Carolina State Highway Patrol.
What cigarette do you smoke, Doctor?
A contributing factor to our juvenile delinquency of today.
Rock and roll has got to go.
And welcome back to the Hometown Holler. I'm Daniel Ayers.
And I'm Quinn Ray. Well, hey, man.
What's up, dude?
You came back with something different this time.
How original.
Well, I mean, I've been doing the same thing for all the shows, so.
I'm doing my Ricky Bobby cosplay today.
Fair enough. You know, I was thinking about getting a shirt for us to put up on our merch that just says, like, hey.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, that has really taken off in a way that I didn't expect. Like, we started the first episode with Hey Man, and that's how we start every episode now, and I still don't know how to respond to it.
Sure. Well, this is an exciting episode for me. We're in Pride Month, and we get to interview somebody I've known more than half my life, which is kind of crazy, but also very exciting to do this. And thinking of this person, I never thought that we would share this type of same space in, political activism, doing things of this nature. I didn't see myself doing it. And so now that we're sitting around this table at the Holler is pretty cool. So today we have Miss Rachel Hopkins. She's the founder of the president of Transcend Alamance, an organization dedicated to fostering opportunities that inspire a sense of belonging for the LGBTQIA plus community and gender-expansive folks of any age, race, and ability in Alamance County. But that's not all. Rachel is a proud graduate of a UNC Tar Heel and is the owner of a private practice therapy office, Rachel Hopkins Counseling. Rachel's commitment to our community doesn't stop there. She plays a vital role in the Alamance Children's Theater, where she has held positions as secretary and vice president. Her passion for the arts extends further as a member of the For Alamance Arts Culture Team, advocating for the enrichment of our local culture landscape. Beyond her professional and community endeavors, Rachel is also a dedicated mother of two, balancing her roles with grace and determination. We're thrilled to have her here on the show today to share her journey, her insights, and her incredible work that she's doing in Alamance County. So, Rachel, thanks for coming.
Hi, thank you for having me here.
Yeah, as a former Alamance Children's Theater thespian, thank you for your service on that front. I feel like this is not what we're going to talk about today, but I just want to plug Alamance Children's Theater because this county punches way above its weight when it comes to youth theater. And the adult leaders like you were a big reason for that.
Absolutely. I did not know you were an alumni of
Yeah, I did
Alamance.
Aladdin Jr. I was narrator 2.
Wonderful.
Best Christmas pageant ever. I think I was
Classic.
like generic church-going child number 4.
Okay.
You can see a theme. I was a character actor, really.
Oh, yeah.
I was
That's
like
right.
the Philip Seymour Hoffman of Alamance Children's Theater.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm
Punching
sure.
above
We
your
start
weight again.
somewhere. Yes.
Anyway, Quinn, you want to kick us off?
Yeah, so Rachel, we're in Pride Month, and we really wanted to highlight part of Alamance County and then the state with the LGBTQIA plus community. And you are the founder of Transcend Alamance. So can you just kind of start us off by explaining what is Transcend Alamance and its mission?
So Transcend is a soon-to-be 501c3 in its own right. We are a community-led organization-ish, if you will, I guess, organization becoming one that is dedicated to finding ways to create a sense of belonging for LGBTQIA plus trans and non-binary identifying folks here. And as you said so beautifully in my introduction, for all ages, no matter ethnicity or race or ability, we really would like to, cross intersections
Sure.
with that as well.
So how do you start something like this? Like what made you decide, like, you know what, yep, I've got to step into the ring and put my hat in here and we've got to get to work?
Well, it was kind of years in the making. It lived in my head for quite a bit. I am a mental health counselor, as you mentioned, and so I see a lot of the clients that I see are identified somehow as queer. I have seen several trans folks or folks that are exploring, and when looking for other resources for them in this area, you find nothing. And so you could send people to Durham or Chapel Hill, Greensboro online to find groups or just places where they could find people who looked like them and find a community of people. And for a long time, and this would be before the pandemic, for a long time I thought about doing something, but really did not know what my place was in that, or if it was my place to be in that world for trans people especially. And then it's been 3 years now, so 3 years ago my kid came out. And when my kid came out, there still wasn't any resources. So that was when I decided that all of the time I've spent thinking about, should I do something? What could I do? What would it look like? Dreaming that this was kind of my kick to actually do something.
So what's the difference when you say there's not groups or support? First thing that comes to mind for me is we have Alamance Pride here in Alamance County, and somebody who's not immersed into the movement, I would just think, you can go to Alamance Pride and meet other folks. What does Transcend Alamance do differently, or is it a different type of movement?
It's working alongside Alamance Pride for sure. Alamance Pride is so important because they make sure that we have a big celebration that is seen outside of even our community each year, and it puts us in alignment with and in solidarity with other cities, groups, that are fighting for inclusion in that manner. But we are, and I'll back up a moment, like as a therapist, I work individually, and I have known for a long time in my work that working with someone, I do a lot. We do a lot of good things to recover in whatever we are working on. And when we kind of get to a sticking point when people are ready, when we are all ready to kind of to find a group of people that we feel that we belong to. And when we don't have a sense of belonging in some sense, then that creates a very lonely state. We can only expect us to be mentally well so much when we do not have a place that we feel we belong with others, that we feel that we are seen, that we feel like we fit in, and that we are.
So when you talk about feeling a sense of belonging, I see you're pretty active on social media, and you have socials. Is it every Friday, every other Friday? You're creating spaces where people can get together and just share experiences and make memories, or is it more like a round table counseling session? Oh no,
we have kind of both. The Transcend is centered around having people be able to come together and meet, share space, be seen in a safe environment. We have 2 of those per month, one for the 5th through 7th graders, which is the first Friday of every month, and then another for the 8th through 12th graders. That is the 3rd Friday of each month. That happens at 64 Harvard in Graham, right there on Main Street. It is a wonderful little shop as well, so go check that out. Also, we have a support group, which is a little different, so it goes closer to the counseling, but it's still not quite the counseling group. If anybody is interested, please go to the website and go to our groups tab, and you will fill out a form to be signed up, and then that's when you can find out where we meet and all of the details about that.
This is why, if you're a listener, you should sign up to our newsletter, because we'll send it out in our newsletter.
Yes. Holler highlights.
Yes, you should. I generally say that this may be therapeutic, but it's not a therapy group. But that is for adults 18 and above who identify as trans or non-binary, and that is every fourth Wednesday of each month. And we call that social club because names are not my
Sure.
not my strength, but it's because that the idea is to give youth a place to come and be whoever they are without question, and to meet other kids that in this area that are, having similar experiences to them, or asking the same questions or identifying in the same way, that may not know that each other exist. So it is a place to come and socialize and meet each other. Ask for resources if you need to. Ask questions. We do have, I am at each and every social, and we usually try to have one other board member there as well if questions are needed. A lot of times the kids just sit and just socialize, and that's what we hope. That's what we hope
Sure.
for. And then we also have a support group for adults 18 and plus that identify under the trans umbrella, either as trans or non-binary. And that is each month as well on the fourth Friday. And that is still not necessarily a counseling session. I know we always say in the group that, this is not therapy, even though it could be very therapeutic. And those types of things may come in the future, but this is also, in the very real sense, a way for trans and non-binary adults that live in Alamance County or surrounding rural places, Caswell, out there in Eastern Guilford, that can come and share resources, meet each other, see each other.
So you have people driving 35, 40 minutes. if
In
not
some
longer.
cases,
Yeah.
Hillsborough.
Okay.
Even though you think Orange County is kind of close, still often I think they come. I have quite a few from Hillsborough as well.
I'm really curious to know when you founded this organization, what was the variety of responses, the reception? Because I'm sure it was all kinds of responses. It was some folks who are like, "Where have you been all these years? This is exactly what we've needed and what we've wanted." And then you probably have some people who are like, "See, they are indoctrinating our kids. See, they're trying to start like this queer youth group to, you can just hear the right wing, whatever, And can you talk us through how y'all have been received?
Yeah, largely. Interestingly enough, I was prepared when we kind of launched and we went online and social, and I decided how open we were going to be and how loud we were going to be, I guess. I was prepared for a backlash quickly, and I really didn't get one, and I was quite surprised. And so largely the reception was a lot of adults that would come and say, "I wish we had this. This is amazing. I wish we had this when I was growing up." And then youth seeing us at like the Dia de los Muertos festival that we set up at and at Alamance Pride, that were like, "Oh, I didn't know you existed. This is great." And we did not start to get backlash until really last year and around Alamance Pride, when some bad actors, I guess you could say, got a hold of this wanting to make sure that everybody knew that there was going to be drag queens in the city, and so we started getting some messages online, and so far now every time if I do an ad, I'm going to get some messages that we quickly but so far that's the extent of what we've had to deal with as far as response, and
People are thankful.
Yes, so far thankful, and I'm very pleased.
Would you say word of mouth is really working as well? Like, are you seeing your groups kind of get larger and talking about with friends, like, "Hey, you need to come to this social club with me"?
Yes, they are. Word of mouth is probably the biggest way things are spread and things are being spread. And yes, they are growing, and sometimes we have like a core group of kids that tend to come, and then we'll have several new ones, and each time I am worried that we're not doing enough, and that it's not going to be cool enough, and it's not going to be fun or received well. And then each night that we're done, I realize that okay, even if just 2 people come, they got so much from it, and people keep showing up. So I feel like if the kids keep coming and keep showing up, we must be doing something.
Absolutely, yeah. growing up here in Alamance County, being involved with Alamance Children's Theater, I was homeschooled until 10th grade. And my best friend from the ages of probably 11 through beginning of high school, we were both homeschooled together, and we lost touch during high school and then reconnected in the spring of last year. Mm-hmm. And turns out they're trans, and they've transitioned, and they have a different name than when I last knew them. And we had this wonderful reunion last year, and one of the first things they said to me was, I'm really sorry that you knew me back then, which was very strange because I had nothing but pleasant memories about this person, right? Yeah. And I was like, what are you talking about? And they were saying, well, like I was going through so much internally that I look back and I feel like there were moments when I acted out in a way that negatively impacted relationships with people who were important to me. Mm-hmm. This person grew up in a very evangelical household, and it really not just didn't have resources, but was really starting from behind square one, right? Square negative 100. And
the Bible being the only resource,
right?
Right?
I mean, yes. This person's parents now are Christian therapists, so like conversion therapy kind of thing. So that's like this is so. I bring this up to say that when I told my friend about Transcend Alamance and we have an Alamance Pride, it was a very emotional conversation because we thought about what would life have been like if you had access to these resources growing up in this community. How would that have made a difference in your life positively? And then also just being grateful that even if we didn't have it back then when we were growing up, we have it now. So I guess that's just kind of a personal story that I bring to the table, and kind of acknowledgement of the really profound need you guys are serving and meeting in this community, because there are kids out there who, just for the first time in their lives feel like they are being heard, feeling like they are being reached and understood.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing that. That is exactly what Transcend is hoping to foster.
Well, I think that leads us into the next question. Mm-hmm. I've known you and your husband Greg for years, and you've always been thinkers, open mind, accepting people. Use the term progressive folks. And then you had kids. You had two kids, and you stated earlier that about 3 years ago one of your kids came out. So how have your experiences as a parent, and completely different than Daniel's story, right? Sure. As of a parent of a LGBTQIA plus, changed your family's dynamic, and just have, because it's got to be, I try to put myself in the shoes as I'm an accepting person. I would consider myself an ally, but then I had kids, and when you have kids, things are different. And then when it's your kid, right? So can you just walk us through as being a parent and now a president of a group? Sure.
So you have said, and there's truth too, like literal truth, that when Caden came out to us, it was over text, by the way, and
That's such a Gen Z move.
It is such a Gen Z move, and I'm actually grateful for it because he was able to say what he needed to say, and he didn't see any visceral reaction from me, no faces, no anything. I was able to kind of, not that I want to say collect myself, but really you're in shock, so even if you see it coming in some ways, and so I'll say that it sat me down. Sure. It literally sat me down. I felt like I was always a progressive, open, affirming person. And I felt like, I'm not a religious person, but it's more like the universe was telling me, oh, you've got more to learn. Mm-hmm. So that was one of the first things that I felt. Second, or close second, I'm not sure if it was actually, but one of the next first was, I have got to get out of here. I was afraid of being in this area, of continuing to raise him here, of him being safe. And so I felt a certain sense of just understanding in a way that I hadn't before of, mothers of minorities that have come before me that have had to send their children into a world where not everyone is willing to keep them safe. And I've always felt that empathy. I've always fought for a world where mothers did not have to do that. And I've always been able to feel what that would be like, but now it felt very real. So I had to figure out what I was going to do with that. And so it didn't change our family dynamic in many, it did and it didn't. It still very much was just the same, which is what it's interesting and odd at the same time, because you feel like everything changed, but nothing changes at the same time. Mm-hmm. It's your kid is still there, and now they're more themselves than they ever have been. We watched him after he came out go from being in literally a dark room, which he is kind of in a dark room now because he's a teenager, but it's got a whole different feel, and not really, engaging with the world. And it was during we were COVID and coming out of school, being closed down, and doing some homeschool stuff too.
And I think we haven't said it, and I don't know if we have
Sure.
to say it, but when you say Caden came out, what does that mean? What does that mean?
Sure. Sorry. He came out as trans, and he is my youngest. And I'll also say that my oldest child has also gone through her own journey and has landed in, as far as sexuality and gender, and has landed in, a feminine non-binary land. But so he came out as trans and had been on a journey. We had been working, he had been exploring some things as far as, he had come out as bisexual, and then started dressing a lot more masculine and just a lot more androgynous. And then eventually came out and said that he was trans and wanted to transition.
A question as a parent, and, I've tried to put myself in shoes that you and Greg wear. Mm-hmm. And when Caden came out and said that, he is trans, how difficult was it to not say, "Are you sure?" Because I remember my first a date in 7th grade. I went to go see the Spice World movie. And right. Dad took me to the movies. I actually was stood up.
Your dad went with you?
No. Dad took me to drop me off.
Okay, I was going to say, I'm just imagining Eric Ray sitting in Spice World.
And the girl that I was going with didn't show up. But nonetheless, I told my parents that, hey, I'm going to go to the movies. I'm going to go on a date with this girl. Mm-hmm. Nobody bats an eye. Right, because of the social norm of how it feels. Mm-hmm. But then you hear so many stories of people saying, I'm gay or I'm trans, and everybody's like, "Are you sure? You're too young to know that. Are you sure?" And I guess would be an internal conflict for me. And if it ever happens to me, I feel like I've been prepping,
yes,
to not say,
mm-hmm.
"Are you sure?" Mm-hmm. So how do you handle with the social group and mm-hmm. your own kid not mm-hmm. making people question?
So I credit, my training again, and being a therapist before my kid came out, in maybe not saying that immediately.
Because you were working with LGBTQ plus
yes.
people before. Okay.
Yes. But it was still hard. Just as you ask your kids lots of things, like, "Are you sure?" Like when they say, "I don't want to go to dance anymore," you're like, mm-hmm. "Are you sure? Right. Are you serious?" Like yesterday, you could do nothing but dance, mm-hmm. and you put your tutu on, and so it was very hard. And as I said, I credit knowledge, just already having knowledge not every lay parent is going to have, with not leading with that.
Could you share some of that knowledge with us? Like, what would you say to parents out there who maybe haven't, experienced that? I mean, it's kind of a revelation, I would say.
Yes.
For folks who haven't gone through that yet, what guidance or insights would you share with them?
Yes. So instead of "Are you sure?" you could ask, "What has brought you to this, to here? What has brought you here? Tell me all about it. Tell me all about it." And when they give you a new name, and you're able to be, sincere to say, hi, new name. Very nice to meet you. Thank them for coming to you with this incredibly vulnerable part of themselves and allowing you to be a part of it. Listen to, that has been something even I have had to question, because I'm still old if compared to them. The language I have, it's like I feel like I still had and probably still do some outdated language, even
Mommy,
what I
we
knew.
don't say the bomb anymore.
Right. So I would still get things wrong. We had and it wasn't, it was smooth, but it wasn't totally smooth when we changed. I still had so many questions.
Something you found you and Greg talking about constantly, or Googling, or trying to find books to read to just learn more about it? Like,
Yeah.
we got a fast track.
Yes, we did. We tried to read as much as we could, I tried to share with Greg what I could, and share with family members, because that was, one thing that was also immediate was, no matter what was going on with us, was that we knew we were going to support and back him up. And I knew as a parent, and I know this is not everybody's decision, that I would never put him in a place or make him be in an environment where someone was not respecting who he was, no matter what they thought. And there are certain, school and there are certain public places that we have to deal with in a different way. But as far as the private places that we go to, I feel like I don't have to make him go, and that included family.
And friends.
And friends,
I will,
absolutely.
I remember, I guess, when it happened, and we would gather together as friends, as we did, and you sent us all a text and let us know. And so from a friend standpoint, I appreciated that. Not that I wouldn't, kind of guess when Caden texted you to come out, so there wouldn't be Caden coming over and then having to come out to me and then seeing a face, even though, again, we're allies, right? So I appreciated that to help make everything more round. But we are coming up on time, Rachel, and I think this conversation could continue for a while.
Sure.
But a couple things before we leave. Could you just tell us some triumphs that have happened with Transcend, or something even with your personal experiences with Caden?
Sure. So, I think one of my favorite things to think about is just coming up on the end of one of the youth socials. It was the end of the night, and the kids, they have just been, hanging out. And one of the kids was leaving. His parent was coming to get them, and he was walking out, and he kind of looked back into the room and threw up his hands. He was like, "My people," and then so that's probably one of the things that I remember.
Like, it's working. I'm doing good.
Yes. Well, it's meaningful. If I can just give these kids a place to feel like that, they have their people here in their community, that is enough. I will do more, but that is also enough.
Right. Well, do you think you got time for a couple rapid questions?
Sure.
Real quick?
We'll try. Yeah.
All right. First one. This is such a big question, but just
I'll do my fist.
One person who inspires you.
One person?
I know. I know.
I'll go with my kids. There are two people, but they are asking the question of what life do I want for them is a constant inspiration of how I will conduct myself.
Oh, what's one book everybody should read?
This is funny because it's not a gender book, but it is Unmasking Autism.
Okay.
I think everyone should read that. It has a lot to do. It is kind of gender adjacent, but I think everyone should read that.
You got a go-to snack? Like when you're munching on the couch, like what is Rachel just grubbing on?
So I really like anything with a dip. So I like chips and salsa and cheese. I like crackers and cream cheese, like sour cream cheese, like sour cream and chives, cream cheese and pimento cheese and crackers, anything that I can dip. I like dips.
And I think one last question.
Sure.
If we got into your car right now and you cranked it up what's going to come through the speakers? What's going to be the first thing that hits our earwaves?
It'll be silence because you have to hook up your Bluetooth. But right now, unfortunately, it will. If it were Greg, it would be a wholly different thing. If it were my kid, it would be K-pop. If it's me, it's actually I'm listening to the book "Who's Afraid of Gender" from Judith Butler.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I think man. Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me.
Well, I was gonna say, where can folks find y'all on Instagram and you guys have a website?
Yep, we have a website. You can find us on www.transcendalamance.org. You can also find us on Instagram, easy enough, at Transcend Alamance, and we're on Facebook as well.
Well, we have a special gift for a special guest, is what I'm always saying. We
Okay.
have a special gift for our special guests, and we've partnered with TS Designs here in Alamance County to get some T-shirts done. And these T-shirts are not your average T-shirt. So the entire supply chain is fair trade in North Carolina. So they say from dirt to shirt. It's all North Carolina cotton, water-based inks,
Yes.
and they are incredibly comfortable. And most of all, they're sexy. I mean, they have this Hometown Holler logo on the front. So you're going to be turning heads. So we got a TS Designs T-shirt for you. So stick around, and we'll get you sorted there.
Perfect.
And I think that's all for today.
Yeah. Thanks again for coming. I'm sure we'll talk some more. We
Yes.
hope to be out at Alamance Pride, but their festival is in October.
Yeah,
Yes.
we do it a little bit later.
We'll
Yes.
have a booth out there. And
Yes.
guys, stay tuned. We got a nice Pride month ahead of us.
Awesome.
Happy Pride.
Thank you.